Can someone please explain to me how it's okay for the government to use a benefit most of us work for our entire life to fill the shortcomings in their budget? How the almost $3 trillion removed from the system isn't even expected to be returned. Act 1, The Promise. August 14, 1935. The United States is still deep in the Great Depression. 1 in 4 workers is unemployed. And for the elderly, many unable to work, many without family support, there is almost nothing. In the 3 decades before 1935, average American lifespans increased by 10 years, the fastest rise in recorded human history. The country had grown older. But it had not grown prepared. By 1934, experts estimated that more than half of the elderly in America lacked sufficient income to be self-supporting. The average state pension, where it existed at all, paid about 65 cents a day. Into this crisis stepped President Franklin Roosevelt. On August 14, he signed the Social Security Act into law. The idea was elegant. American workers would contribute a portion of their wages into a dedicated trust fund, a kind of national insurance policy. When they reached retirement age, they would draw from it. The government would be the steward. The workers would be the owners. Workers began paying payroll taxes in 1937. On January 31, 1940, a Vermont woman named Ida Mae Fuller received the first monthly Social Security check for $22.54. She had paid in just $24.75 before retiring. She lived to be 100 years old and collected nearly $23,000. The system worked, at least for her. But here is what Roosevelt understood, and carefully managed. Social Security was never a personal savings account. It was a pay-as-you-go system. Your payroll taxes weren't being held for you. They were paying the retirees ahead of you. The generation behind you would pay for yours. Roosevelt knew this. He designed the program to feel like personal ownership, because he believed that psychological attachment would make it politically indestructible. In his own words, with those taxes in there, no damn politician can ever scrap my Social Security program. He was right about the politics. He may not have imagined what those politicians would eventually do with the money. Act 2, The Cracks Appear. Fast forward to 1968. Lyndon Johnson is in the White House. The Vietnam War is consuming billions. And Johnson is looking for ways to make the federal budget look better than it actually is. What he did next wouldn't technically steal a single dollar, but it changed the relationship between Congress and Social Security forever. He folded Social Security's income and expenditures into the overall federal budget, the so-called unified budget. With its surplus now visible on the books, Social Security could make the general government deficit appear smaller. The program was, in accounting terms, now on the table. Here is what actually happens to the surplus. When Social Security collects more in payroll taxes than it pays out in benefits, that surplus doesn't sit in a vault. By law, it is invested in special U.S. Treasury bonds. The Treasury uses that cash for general government spending. In exchange, the trust fund holds IOUs, bonds the government must eventually redeem. As of 2021, the federal government had borrowed approximately $2.9 trillion from Social Security this way. Is that a scandal, or is it just how the system was always designed to work? The honest answer is, both. Workers paid payroll taxes for decades under the belief that their contributions were being carefully stewarded. Congress spent the surpluses, on defense, on other programs, and left the trust fund holding bonds that can only be redeemed by raising future taxes or cutting future spending. It's not theft in a legal sense. But it is a form of institutional sleight of hand that has compounded across generations. By the mid-1970s, Social Security was in crisis. Benefit expansions, a 20% benefit increase in 1972, automatic cost of living adjustments, all of it had drained reserves faster than projected. By 1981, the program was months from being unable to pay benefits on time. President Reagan established the National Commission on Social Security Reform, the Greenspan Commission, to save it. The 1983 reforms raised payroll taxes. They began taxing Social Security benefits for higher earners for the first time. And they did something that tens of millions of Americans never saw coming. They raised the retirement age. Act 3, The Moving Goalpost. When Social Security was created in 1935, the full retirement age was 65. There is a historical irony here worth sitting with. The average American life expectancy in 1935 was 61 years. The program was partly sustained by the deaths of contributors who never lived long enough to collect a single dollar. What happens to the money paid in by workers who die before collecting, or who never collect at all? The answer is blunt. It stays in the system. Social Security is not a personal account. If you pay in for 40 years and die at 62, 1 year before the earliest eligibility age, your family cannot inherit your contributions. That money has already been used to pay benefits to the retirees ahead of you. There is a one-time lump sum death payment to surviving family. That amount is $255. It hasn't been updated since 1954. The 1983 Greenspan Commission raised the full retirement age from 65 to 67, phased in gradually over decades. Today, anyone born in 1960 or later doesn't receive full benefits until age 67. Claim at 62, and your monthly payment is permanently reduced by 30%. In 1935, the retirement age was 65 in a country where average life expectancy was 61. In 2026, the retirement age is 67 in a country where a 65-year-old can expect to live to 84 or 87. People are living longer and collecting more. But instead of funding the program adequately, Congress chose to make you wait longer for your money. And some bipartisan policy groups are already proposing raising the age to 69. If life expectancy keeps rising, how much longer will you be asked to wait? Act 4, less and less. Even as Americans wait longer to collect, what they collect is also effectively shrunk. The average monthly Social Security retirement benefit in early 2025 was approximately $1,976. Before that check arrives, Medicare Part B premiums, $185 per month in 2025, come right off the top for most recipients. The annual cost of living adjustment is supposed to keep benefits in step with inflation. But the formula used, based on a consumer price index for urban wage earners, understates the inflation seniors actually experience. Healthcare costs inflate faster than the index captures. In 2022, the COLA was 5.9% while actual inflation hit 9%. Retirees fell behind in real purchasing power. Before 1984, Social Security benefits were never taxed. The Greenspan Commission changed that. Up to 50% of benefits became taxable above certain income thresholds. In 1993, Congress raised it to 85% for higher earners. The income thresholds that trigger those taxes were set in 1983 and 1993, and have never been adjusted for inflation. Each year, more middle-class retirees cross those lines and pay taxes on benefits they funded with after-tax earnings their entire working lives. Wait longer. Get taxed more. Watch Medicare premiums erode the check. Hope the inflation adjustment keeps pace with your actual cost of living. That is the deal as it currently exists. Act 5, the clock is running. In June of 2025, the Social Security Board of Trustees released its annual report to Congress. The finding was stark: the combined trust fund reserves are projected to be depleted by 2034. The retirement fund alone goes dry in 2033. That date moved up a full year from the previous report. What does depleted actually mean? It does not mean Social Security disappears. Payroll tax revenue continues. But when the reserves are gone, the SSA is legally required to pay out only what it takes in. By the trustees' own projections, that means an automatic across-the-board benefit cut of 19 to 23% for everyone. Current retirees, future retirees, disabled workers, survivors. All of them, cut simultaneously, by law, without a congressional vote, unless Congress acts first. A typical retiring couple in 2033 would face a reduction of approximately $16,500 per year in their benefits. The trust fund reserves have already fallen. They declined $67 billion in 2024 alone. And the insolvency date accelerated because Congress, in January 2025, passed a benefit expansion, the Social Security Fairness Act, without finding a single dollar of new funding to pay for it. To restore solvency over 75 years, the options are these: raise the combined payroll tax rate by nearly 4 percentage points immediately, or cut all benefits by 22% immediately, or some combination of both. Wait until 2034 when reserves are exhausted, and those numbers get significantly worse. The trustees have published this math, publicly, every year since 1984. More than 40 years of warnings. And Congress has done nothing substantial. Act 6, the questions, and the reckoning. Technically yes, backed by the full faith and credit of the United States. But redeeming those bonds requires the Treasury to raise taxes, borrow more, or cut other spending. The money was spent. It must now be repaid by future taxpayers. Why does the payout age keep going up? Because raising the retirement age is a benefit cut that doesn't look like one. Every year added to the full retirement age is a year's worth of benefits quietly removed from what you were promised. And when does it end? Based on the 2025 Trustees Report, under a best-case scenario, the combined trust fund runs out in 2034. There is a 95% probability it depletes somewhere between 2033 and 2040. By 2099, absent reform, the program could only cover 72 cents of every dollar currently promised. In 1940, there were approximately 40 workers paying into Social Security for every one retiree collected. Today, that ratio is 2.7 to 1, and it is falling. The math is tightening, and it will not bend to wishful thinking. Franklin Roosevelt built Social Security to be politically indestructible. 90 years later, it is still here. It pays approximately $139 billion in benefits every single month to more than 1/5 of the American population. It is one of the most consequential programs in American history. But the promise, that if you work hard, pay in your whole life, and reach retirement age, a full check will be waiting, that promise is underdocumented, measurable, actuarial strain. Not from a single villain. From decades of bipartisan avoidance. From benefit expansions without funding. From political cowardice dressed up as pragmatism. In 1983, Reagan and House Speaker Tip O'Neill, two men who disagreed on almost everything, took the political hit together and saved the program. It was born out of a crisis so acute that the trust fund was weeks from missing payments. Are we going to wait until 2033 to find the kind of courage again? Francis Perkins, the architect of Social Security, said it plainly: the real roots of the Social Security Act were in the Great Depression. Nothing else would have bumped the American people into a Social Security system except something so shocking, so terrifying. 90 years later, we are waiting for a crisis to force our hand. Let's hope this time we don't wait until the checks are already short. So explain to me why we are standing for this? Why we are being taxed on an after-tax deduction from our wages when we do receive it? Why does the goalpost keep moving and the age of collection keep moving back? Why hasn't it been reformed to keep up with inflation? If these questions bother you as much as they do me, please like and follow to explore more content like this.